Welcome to the RAS Project, the place where you will learn how to thrive and grow in every aspect of life, family, entrepreneurship, personal development, tech, and marketing using real, raw, and 100% no bullshit proven tactics. My name is Ivan Temelkov, and I'm your host. And I hope that you weren't expecting anyone else. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm excited to be back, live in the flesh, right here, right fucking now. I absolutely love doing these live broadcasts, and honestly, miss it. In fact, week over week, I'm trying to find ways of how to do more of these live podcasts because it just brings me so much joy and excitement to be doing these live shows. And today we're going to talk about, should you do it yourself or pay someone else to do it for you? We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch, and you'll be able to listen to the audio version of this episode on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon, here in about an hour or so, roughly. So let's get right into it. All right. Should you do it yourself or pay someone else to do it for you? Let's break this down. Why do I want to break this down? If you're an entrepreneur, and chances are you probably are, there's a lot of people who watch and listen to this show, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of small business owners. I almost guarantee you that today specifically, the one thing that's probably going through your head is, should I do this myself or should I pay someone else to do it? Right? Great question. Let's talk about it. Okay. Do it yourself. How does it, right? And you're trying to determine whether or not, should I do this myself? Should I learn it? Or should I pay someone else to do it? Someone who's more experienced, right? I'll give you a prime example. So one of the things that, before I dive into this, just to give you an example, actually, you know what? Let's break it down first before I get into this, okay? Doing it yourself. What does that mean? Well, it saves you money, but it requires your time. Okay? It saves you money, but requires your time. A lot of what we see in the entrepreneurial space and small business is where there's a lot of entrepreneurs and small businesses who say, you know what? I'm going to do this myself because they think that it's going to save them money. But you know what? It still requires your time. And I'll talk more about it in just a second. So you have to think, what is your time worth? And does it really make sense to do this yourself or hire someone else to do it? All right. So think about that. So one benefit to doing it yourself is just that, you save money, but it still requires your time. You get to do it the way you choose to do it on your own terms. So the experience is a lot more intuitive. What do I mean by that is, if you're an entrepreneur and a business owner, right? You've probably done a lot of things yourself. Chances are when you start out a business, you do a lot of things yourself because you don't have any money. That's actually one of the main reasons why you do it yourself, because you don't have any funds, so you're forced to learn it because you don't have any money to pay anyone else to do it. Okay? So, the experience is you probably are going to crash and burn, because if it's not your specialty, then you're going to crash and burn, but it's going to provide that experience for you to see whether or not you're good at it or you're not good at it. I mean, you might be good at something that you didn't know you were good at. And going through the experience of that, doing it yourself, might indeed actually highlight that. Doing something yourself also does not guarantee results. I don't know if it's maybe just because I'm in the marketing space, to be honest with you guys. But I think there's so many entrepreneurs and small business owners out there who think that just because they do something themselves, that it's going to guarantee the results, that the outcome, that, it's going to have a fruitful outcome, if that makes sense. Okay. But that's not it. Results are not guaranteed, especially when you're doing something yourself. It's like anything else. In fact, if you pay someone else to do something for you, provide a service, or you buy a product, the results still aren't guaranteed, but at least the probability of getting results is much higher because they're supposed to be the expert in that area, right? And we'll talk more about that. Okay. So if you're not experiencing whatever it is you're doing, it's most likely going to result in a crash and burn experience. But some people like to crash and burn, I mean, I'll admit it. When I started out my business, Razor Sharp Digital, I'm very natural at a lot of things, technology wise, advertising wise, social media wise. But there's also a lot of things that I was incoherent. And the reality of things is the only option that I thought I had was to crash and burn and do it myself. And you know what? Sometimes that's the only option you have. So sometimes the only option you might have is to do it yourself because you don't have any funds. You don't have any money, And let's face it, turning to someone to do something for free is very hard to come by. And even if you find someone to do something for you, to do it for free, I can almost guarantee you that there's some kind of a value exchange. What they bring to the table, which is like a whole nother conversation. So if you're just tuning in, we're talking about, should you do it yourself or should you pay someone else to do it for you? And I just broke down what it means to do it yourself. Okay? To do it yourself, and what are the pros and cons of, doing it yourself. Okay? So let's talk about paying someone to do something for you. And why would that make sense, or why should you consider it? Why should you pay someone for a service or a product? Well, they're an expert. That's their business. That's what they're supposed to be doing. That's what they're supposedly seasoned in, which is a whole different, it's a dual-edged sword, right? When paying someone to do something for you. When it comes to marketing specifically, there's a lot of snake oil and bullshit in this space. And in fact, this is something that I struggle with every day with my businesses, because I also get a lot of entrepreneurs and small businesses who think that I'm like the last asshole that screwed them over, that didn't do what they were supposed to do. So when you hire someone to do something for you, the intent behind that is that you're hiring them because they're an expert. It's kind of like if you got a leak in your house, right? Let's say a water leak, right? Then you're probably going to call a plumber, right? You could do it yourself and try to fix the leak, but there's no guarantee that that's going to solve the problem. You could try it, and you might get lucky. But if you don't, then you need to pay someone, an expert, a plumber, to come in to fix the leak for you, because you're going to create a bigger fucking problem if you don't call an expert. Paying someone to do it for you saves you time so you can focus on other things. This is probably one of the hardest things that I think I've had to realize as an entrepreneur, is to cross that bridge to understand methodologically why it makes sense to pay someone pay an employee, pay for their time, for their value, you know, as opposed to trying to do it all myself. And I'm going to be honest with you. I know people who run multi-million-dollar businesses, or so they claim anyway, and they're an employee of one. You know, and it's hard to fathom, right? Because if you're running a business of that size, is it realistic to do it all by yourself? Do you need the help of someone else? You know, do you have a necessity for the help of someone else? You know? So that's one of the things that I wanted to highlight, because in the reality of things is paying someone to do something for you saves you time so you can focus on other things. You know, it costs you money, but in order to get value, you have to pay for it. This is what people don't understand, is that when you pay someone to do something for you, whether it's a service or you're buying a product, well, if you're buying a service, excuse me, not a product. If you're paying for a service, you're paying someone for their time and value. Okay? You're paying for their time to come. It's dedicated time to do it the way you want them to do something, or the way they need to do something to accomplish an end result. And then the value, it's like, you know, what value do they bring? What solution can they create to solve your problem? You know, it's like, I mean, I'll give you an example. Is, you know, I have a full-time employee that I pay, and I pay her for her time and value. I pay her for the time that she spends working on our clients, because it's dedicated time. She takes time out of her life, you know, to come in and spend that time working on clients of Razor Sharp Digital. I'm also for the value that you bring to the table, because in the reality of things, you know, you're not a know-it-all. That's probably one of the biggest mistakes that new entrepreneurs make. You are not a know-it-all. You don't have it all figured out, you know? And you need help. You need help from other people. You know, whether it's an employee or a subcontractor or whatever, you know, might be, you need help. You can't do it all by yourself. That's the reality of it. And so, again, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about, should you do it yourself or pay someone else to do it for you? I just talked about the difference between doing it yourself and paying someone else to do it for you. And by the way, one example actually I wanted to share before I share a story with you, ladies and gentlemen, paying someone to do it for you. So, for instance, one of the things that we don't do with my company, Razor Sharp Digital, is that we don't do design work. So I actually have a dedicated person I've worked with for quite a while that we actually go to when it comes to logo creation, you know, any kind of a traditional type of stuff. That's something that's not in our wheelhouse. You know, being a digital marketing agency, we do everything from A to Z with the exception of the design aspect of it. We build websites, we run Facebook ads campaigns, you know, we do social media marketing, we do all of that. But when it comes to the creative, besides creating content for clients, you know, logo design and branding is not something that we do. Not to say that it's not something that we might introduce as a service offering later down the road, but it's not a core expertise currently. So it wouldn't make sense, you know, for me or my social media coordinator to be creating a logo for a client, knowing that that's not in our wheelhouse. That's just setting yourself up for failure. And I've known a lot of new entrepreneurs specifically who do exactly that. They take on projects that they're incoherent about, and then they get stuck. And I wonder, what the fuck did I get myself into? Well, you got yourself into a fucking mess. So focus on your skills and your strengths and pay someone else to do other things that you cannot do. Okay. And here's a story that I want to share with you, ladies and gentlemen. I've made a firm decision on this. So, um, recently I made the decision that I it doesn't make sense for me to mow my own grass. Occasionally, maybe, but week over week does not make sense to mow my own grass. And I'll explain. So I got on an app and hired a crew to mow my grass on a weekly basis. And why? Why? Because my time is worth more than $36 an hour, which is what it costs to mow my lawn every single week. Sure, I can go out there for an hour and a half and, hack up the lawn and trim it and blow it and do all of this. And, in some part I enjoy it. But in the reality of things, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a father, as a husband, I struggle enough in finding time to spend with my family and make sure that the business doesn't collapse than to spend time mowing my own lawn. So investing $36 per week just makes sense to have a crew who can come in. That's what they do. That's their bread and butter, to mow my lawn. Because I can focus on other things. I can focus on, generating more business, building more relationships, spending more time with my family, with my kids, creating priceless memories. And the reality of things is you've got to pay for time and value. Entrepreneurs don't fucking understand that. You've got to pay for time and value. Okay? There's just no way around it. If you do not pay for someone's time and value, you can sit there and say, "Oh, thank you, blah blah blah." It's like, getting some kid to come and mow your lawn for free and having some, unrealistic expectations week over week. That it's got to look a certain way, it's got to be cosmetically done, blah blah blah. It just ain't gonna happen. Just understand, you've got to pay for time and value. You've got to pay for other people's time and the value that they bring to the table to create solutions to meet your specific needs. That is what we do at Razor Sharp Digital as a digital agency. We help brands and companies forge their digital governance using human to human convergence, community development, and human business strategies. It's that simple. So I wanted to share that story with you because, again, I've struggled with this, and I think it was mainly because, I think in the beginning, I could not justify spending, over $120 per month on mowing my lawn. But when I think about it, I should spend $120+ per month because that's going to free up, close to 8 hours of my time. In 8 hours time, if I cannot quadruple that investment, then there's something wrong. And that's the example I'm trying to portray here. That is the picture I'm trying to portray for you, is that why you should pay someone to do something is so we can free up your time so you can focus on other things, not do it yourself. That's what people don't understand, especially new entrepreneurs. So the punch here is that you're always better off paying someone else to do something for you, and especially if you're incoherent about it. Let me repeat that one more fucking time. You're always better off paying someone else to do something for you, and especially if you're incoherent about it. Doing your own marketing or social media when all you know is how to post selfies of yourself or claim to know how to operate the social platforms does not classify you as an expert. There's a vast majority of people on the internet right now who think that, oh, I can just get on TikTok, or I can get on Snapchat, or, I can get on Clubhouse or Facebook or Instagram or whatever other social platform that makes you a social media expert. No, that does not make you a social media expert. You might be tech savvy, sure, but strategically, you probably are incoherent on knowing how to operate these social platforms. Honestly, there's so many people out there that I see every single day, even some people that have been in the game for a long period of time, that still cannot find that sweet spot. They've been doing it long enough, but can't find the sweet spot. And those are the anomalies of situations. These are the battles that I have to battle every single day when I talk to prospective customers and I explain to them that, like, well, just because so-and-so told you that they're a marketing guru or whatever, and they didn't do shit, they didn't perform, they didn't deliver, I'm not that guy, and if you think I'm that guy, then we probably shouldn't even be talking, because you are immediately assuming that I have nothing unique to offer and I'm just like the last guy. And that's far from the truth, ladies and gentlemen. Our 5-star reviews show that. And that's what matters. The experience that you create. So again, just to wrap things up, in this episode, we talked about the difference between doing it yourself or pay someone. What's the difference? Why should you or shouldn't you pay someone to do something? And if you enjoyed this episode, ladies and gentlemen, you got some value out of it, I appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button on YouTube, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is that you're getting the audio version or video version of the RAS project, that we can stay in tune with new episodes next time we go live when we talk and in your business. Again, my name is Ivan Temelkov, and I'm your host. Hope you weren't expecting anybody else. And that should do it for episode 133 of the RAS Project. Take care, ladies and gentlemen. Have an amazing weekend, and I will talk with you next time.